For many of us, the last decade has made speaking with our family on issues regarding race, gender, class, or identity feel like a minefield. The stress of navigating this minefield has resulted in many of us cutting ties with our loved ones for our own well-being, sometimes temporarily and other times permanently. The chief archetype of this difficult situation is the racist aunt or uncle who, despite never having read anything that could qualify as a primary or secondary source, are very opinionated on subjects like the history of race in America. They are experts and reject your woke history, which in general means historical consensus for the past 50 years, and specifically means anything that looks at systemic problems related to race, gender, class, or identity with a critical lens. To them, American history has only sunshine and rainbows and white people and bald eagles and Liberty Bells and freedom and white people and purple mountains majesty above a fruited plain populated entirely with white people. Now your racist aunt and uncle's warped views on America's shameful history are national policy. Hi, my name is Dorielle. This channel was born because me and my husband both studied history in college and feel like we don't have much to show for it. In order to put our overpriced degrees to good use, we decided to use this channel to combat the widespread misinformation being churned out across the internet. That way, we didn't do all that work for nothing. On August 21st, the administration released a list of artwork, exhibits, displays, campaigns, and policies from several museums of the Smithsonian that they found objectionable. They were released in an article on the White House's website titled, "Trump Was Right About the Smithsonian." We are museum people. Combined, we've worked at 7 of them, so we know. There are thousands of exhibits, displays, pieces of art, etc. at a museum, much less multiple. Why Trump chose these 20, I don't know. Removed from the context of this reactionary list, they all actually sound great. The National Museum of the American Latino features programming highlighting animated Latinos and Latinas with disabilities, with content from a disabled, plus-sized actress and an ambulatory wheelchair user who educates on their identity being Latinx, LGBTQ+, and disabled. The National Museum of African Art displayed an exhibit on works of speculative fiction that bring to life an immersive, feminist, and sacred aquatopia inspired by the legend of Drexia, an underwater kingdom populated by the children of pregnant women who had been thrown overboard or jumped into the ocean during the Middle Passage. Articles on LGBTQ+ inclusion and skateboarding and the rise of drag ball culture in the 1920s. Others are just literally saying facts. An exhibit at the American History Museum depicts migrants watching Independence Day fireworks through an opening in the U.S.-Mexico border wall and says America's founders feared non-white immigration. One of the examples wasn't even displayed because of pushback from what I can only assume was a gaggle of tasteless, soulless, bigoted cretins, closeted chasers, and 53-year-old ninth graders. And this is just the pride flag. And it kind of goes on like this. Just kind of repeating scary words to get the base riled up and help them forget about any other kind of lists that were supposed to get released. Only a few times does the article snarkily bring up a specific issue they have with a display or offer any counter narrative for their historic theme. These are not good faith actors. They are despots trying to find a funnel for their bullshit. Trump can't affect textbooks in every state. He can't really dictate what professors teach at colleges and universities or immediately impact how local or state museums utilize their funds. But he can affect an institution like the Smithsonian, and he's going to, because he can. For this episode, we are going to be talking about the very first item on the list, which I think is very telling. It says, the National Museum of African American History and Culture debuted a series of educated people on a society that privileges white people and whiteness, defining so-called white dominant culture as ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time, and portraying the nuclear family, work ethic, and intellect as white qualities rooted in racism.
I see white people.
Their inability to process that they govern a society where white people are put first, while putting white people first on this list is truly remarkable. To remove white supremacy as a consistent and omnipresent motivation in American politics and the rise of American hegemony is lying about the nation's history. This cognitive dissonance is explored in the book White Fragility by sociologist Dr. DiAngelo. In it, Dr. DiAngelo breaks down the defensive posture taken up by white people when any serious discussion of race arises. She attributes this defensiveness to an anxiety experienced by white people when they are made aware of their own race and the impact it has on others who do not share the fortune of being considered white. When confronted with the fact that their access to justice, quality medical care, employment, healthy food, clean air, drinkable water, financial security, education, safety, and political representation are all incalculably buoyed by their race, white people feel threatened and lash out. This is their fragility. And good luck trying to explain this to them. It's like trying to explain, "I think you should leave" to someone who doesn't have social anxiety. For a recent example, look to Jillian Michaels, whose whole vibe right now is fitness racist aunt. Michaels is actually a perfect example of the archetype for the Trump era. Being a queer person, her identity does not match perfectly with the identity of the ruling class, but by using her D-list celebrity voice to defend white supremacy, she is protected by them. The former reality TV show star's rant on CNN and social media typifies the delusional view of history MAGA possesses. The argument that only 2% of the white population profited from slavery is insane. Slavery generated an immeasurable amount of revenue, not just for the slavers themselves, but for the entire economy. The exportation of cotton drove northern industry, shipping, and banking. Getting cotton across the country led to investment in internal improvements that benefited the lives of mostly white people. The increased capital was used to finance tech industries like railroads, which led to massive government-sponsored land giveaways that again mostly benefited white people. This not to mention all the wealth generated for those in direct support of slavery, such as overseers, slave traders, speculators, auctioneers, steamboat drivers, dock workers, lawyers, and a legion of immoral kidnappers whose power only increased as the Civil War drew nearer. Being white in America and not being actively involved in the destruction of slavery meant you were complicit in it. Even many of the white abolitionists who worked to end slavery still held feelings of white supremacy, and their actions sometimes came from a sense of their own actualization rather than a desire for equality. Also, no, white people did not give anyone their freedom. Freedom and humanity cannot be given to anyone.
Falk was going on about how he believed in giving blacks the right to go to school, giving them the right to vote, giving them the right to go into anything they qualified for. And then he said he experienced an epiphany.
I was sitting out on a wagon tongue with this old black man, and was telling him what a different kind of white man I was. I remember him looking at me very sadly and kind of sweetly and condescending and said, "You know, you still got the disease, honey. I know you think you're cured, but you're not cured. You can't give me the right to be a human being. I'm born with that right. Now, you can keep me from having that. If you've got all the policemen and all the jobs on your side, you can deprive me of it. But you can't give it to me, because I was born with it just like you was."
People like Jillian Michaels or Trump or your racist aunt and uncle will do any kind of mental gymnastics they can to separate their inflated positions from the inhumane exploitation of millions of people over hundreds of years. Many of them once held the contradicting position that slavery was horrific, but that people just needed to get over it. Now some places, Florida, are regressing back to the happy slave narrative that once infected lecture halls and textbooks nationwide. In White Fragility, DiAngelo discusses how anti-blackness is rooted in American culture, how black people must be paradoxically exceptional and humble to be considered deserving of their own achievements. She characterizes the violence of white supremacy throughout American history as state-sanctioned organized crime. This may even be too mild a description. When was the last time mobsters took their kids to see the murder or flattened entire city blocks from the air twice? DiAngelo's book exploded in popularity after the murder of George Floyd in 2020. It has since faced criticism in the years following for a variety of reasons. While its examination of the behaviors of white people to automatically act as foot soldiers for white supremacy is still a useful tool, especially with the current government, I do think DiAngelo falls into the narrative that racism is some sort of accident. Instead, the systems of white supremacy that permeate every aspect of American life are designed to advance the interest of capital. The separation between the black and white working class is constructed. The landed gentry of colonial America solidified slavery as the industry standard after being terrified by solidarity demonstrated by Americans of different races during Bacon's Rebellion. Howard Zinn noted in A People's History of the United States that while black and white cooperation was rare in the slave South, the potential was considered so dangerous by the ruling planter class that the punishments were severe. The goal of this state-sponsored organized crime was to separate working class people from each other, to weaken the power of labor and protect property. DiAngelo also seems to follow a pattern of white people, white intellectuals especially, of having severe main character syndrome. White redemption or self-actualization is not the goal. In the fight against white supremacy, this is not you. This is not you. Neither is this. And this sure as hell isn't you. If you want to be anti-racist, you're going to have to be comfortable being this person. Or them. Or them. Really, I prefer a slightly different outlook from around the same time on what white people should do.
Get with it or get out of the fucking way.
Also, actually watch creators who are people of color. Like, what are you doing watching this? Go get out of here. Well, not yet. Wait, come back. I'm not finished. But really, if you have a relative that you are already dreading interacting with in a few months, remember, their ignorance is manufactured. They are made fragile to serve as a bulwark to protect capitalism and the interest of a few rich fucks. As always, thank you for watching. If you found any of this informative, please give it a like, tell us what you thought in the comments, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, please remember, the future is ahead of us.